What's up, y'all? Welcome back to the THC Temple. Hey, man, I had to sit back, man, and make a video for my boy Prince, man, because yesterday I was, hanging with my folks. We went to the beach or whatever, hanging with my buddies, my friends, and we were riding home, and on the way home on the radio, going up, like, all the way going to the beach, we were listening to the playlist and all this stuff, had the aux cord plugged in. And a lot of the time, like, my phone was dead at the beach, and I had the phone in the car and all types of stuff like that. So, I wasn't really plugged into the outside world as much as I usually am. So either way, when we got in the car and we were going on the road, and I heard that was probably like 6 o'clock, 6 p.m. Eastern time. And like I said, we're riding down the road and on the radio, like, because, my friends, they were talking, they were chatting it up or whatever. And, I was just in the back, kind of, I think I was halfway on the phone, halfway doing something. I was, just, not really listening, but just doing something. And as I was sitting there chilling, I heard the lady on the radio say, she was talking blah, 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 blah. And then she said something about, she didn't say rest in peace or nothing, but she said, like, because it wasn't like, I was sitting there on the radio, she said, the Prince, hey, y'all, today Prince died. It wasn't, that to the point. She said something about the life and legacy of Prince and the revolution, or something like that. She said it, and like when she said that, I said, "What? Who died?" I said when she said, because like I said, they were talking and I couldn't hear. So either way, as soon as I heard that, I went to the phone real quick. Like I said, it was like halfway dead. I had just plugged it up, and it was on 4%. So I loaded up. I went on Google real quick and typed in real quick, Prince dead. And, sure enough, because, usually, I've seen, celebrity hoaxes where, somebody's like, hey, man, he died, he blah, 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 blah. And I didn't hear it anywhere else or see it anywhere else. So, I look it up real quick to see what the world is talking about, and nothing's going on. I'm like, man, you lying. I heard something about Jim Carrey dying in a snowboarding accident or something like that. Either way, looked up Prince, and he happened to be fucking gone, man. And Prince is what, I'm only 20 years old. I just turned 20. So, Prince wasn't a big part of my life. One of the first times I remember hearing about Prince, and a whole lot of, people from my generation probably too, it was the Dave Chappelle skit, when they were talking about with Charlie Murphy and Dave Chappelle, the guys, they were talking about Prince playing basketball, being like super, ultra good at basketball, so they were telling the story basically. And if you've never seen it, go look it up, and if you have seen it, you know what I'm talking about. But either way, growing up, Prince was never a big artist to my generation. Like, you wouldn't hear somebody my age at school talking about, yeah, man, you heard that new Prince album, or man, Prince is my favorite artist. You wouldn't hear it like that. There are a few kids out there, but it wasn't necessarily like that big. But I had just, and that's the craziest thing about it, because I just, like, recently here got into Prince. I mean, like, this year recently. So, like, you guys know, last year, the end of last year, October, I had a car accident. I fucked up my leg really bad, and I had to get surgery on it and plates and all that shit in my leg. And while I was recovering, because still, like, I forget, it was the end of January. It was like the end of the year, so it was like probably December or something like that. Either way, it was a lot of days of me just chilling with my leg up, or trying to basically watching a lot of TV and stuff like that. Doing light work. And one day, Purple Rain came on VH1, and I never saw it, the Purple Rain movie. I always heard about it, but never saw it. Like I said, growing up, there was never, like, a reason for me to listen to Prince. Like, not to say a reason, it was always, like, your parents or the older community who was always like, yeah, man, Prince is, good and fire. I heard Purple Rain, like, one time, like, before all this. So, I always knew about Prince, and I always knew, he was kind of, like a weird kind of guy. Not weird, but, he was out there, he was a different type of artist. I knew his personality. Heard people telling funny stories about him and whatnot. So, I knew his personality and stuff like that a whole lot more than his music and his art. And so, I watched Purple Rain, and I remember it was just so, like, it was, as I was watching it, it's one of those movies where, you hear all the hype and all the hubbub about it. And when I watched it, I was convinced. I was like, wow, this is why everybody, is praising Prince. This is why everybody says he is who he is, just basically off that one movie. I haven't even heard any of his other albums or any of that. I've just heard the songs that were in the Purple Rain movie, which, When Doves Cry, was my favorite song out of the movie. And that was the part in the movie, like the montage when they play that song, that was the part in the movie where I was convinced. I was like, okay, yeah, Prince is the shit. Like, throughout the movie, I was like, man, this is pretty cool. I thought it was just going to be some kind of musical, just a movie to make Prince look good, just a movie to promote Prince's music. It was a whole lot more than that. It was a super dope movie. If you've never seen the Purple Rain movie, please go look it up. They're probably gonna be playing it like shit on VH1 and there's places like that. And yeah, that would be a good place. But like I said, I just got into Prince like literally then, and like I'm a big Wikipedia nerd, so like I'll go on especially like people that I'm just getting into, I'll go on Wikipedia and read up about this and that, their albums and their tours and just all types of stuff. I'm a big Wikipedia nerd, always been. Don't know where it comes from, but I just like that. And so and I was thinking about making a video on it, man, and I have to now, like, for the reason that this generation doesn't know Prince. And that's basically because, when the whole internet thing came along, internet and music and all that, Prince is really big on, people buying his music. And you could tell, because he's really big on the visual and aesthetic, everything about making an album. So when an album comes out, like if you look at a Prince album, it has all types of, it looks like something that you would pay $10 for. Because, if I go to I like buying CDs. Like my favorite artists, I love supporting them, especially when they're dropping a good ass album. But if you go to the store and buy CDs nowadays, most of the time it's just literally a CD tray, a CD, and you'll be lucky if you have a booklet. Nowadays they'll have like the CD booklet with like 2 pages and it has the front and the back. It'll be like, for more information, go online, www.nutface.com or whatever. DJ Lil Poo Poo here, whoever CD you're buying, it's not a, people don't really care anymore. They just want the music itself, just the music. You know what I'm saying? And Prince was a little bit bigger than that, and that's why I was saying, because like after I saw that movie, I would go on, I want to go on YouTube and watch some Prince stuff. Not much Prince on YouTube because of the copyright laws and how hard him and his label go at that type of shit. You go on Apple Music, and I think they said that he's on Tidal, like they have all this shit on Tidal, so that's cool because I have Apple Music now, and I'm not, if basically saying if you want to listen to some Prince, you 9 times out of 10 have to buy it, or now you can get a Tidal subscription, which is better because nowadays everybody has music subscriptions, especially kids. And nowadays, either way, my whole point of saying is, if Prince was more on YouTube, if you can find like Prince songs on YouTube and shit like that, and just just like every other artist, if he was exposed to the internet generation that much, he would be, he would have been super, a whole lot bigger than he is. And it's sad, like that these artists have to die and shit like that to get pushed to new platforms, but because of course, Prince was already legendary status, way before all of this, but like I said, to this generation or to the new kids, we don't know much about him, and it's because of he's not him not being in the mediums that we consume more than the older generations. You know what I'm saying? Back in the day, all you had to do was get a hot video on MTV and have a dope album, or a good enough album, get a hot single, and then sell a good album, and that'll pick up steam. Nowadays, for one, MTV doesn't even play music videos anymore. The best place to find music videos is what? YouTube. And you can't find Prince's videos where? On YouTube. You know what I'm saying? So that's for a whole nother video though, man. But it was crazy though, man. I was having, a good time, enjoying myself, and then I heard about Prince dying. it's weird, it's weird hearing about the celebrities like Charlamagne the Guy from the Breakfast Club. Every time I say that, it's like, but Charlamagne the Guy from the Breakfast Club, the radio show, if you guys don't know. If you don't know, you need to know, because they're super fucking dope. And he was talking about today, he thought that Prince was one of those guys who were pretty much invincible, like they couldn't die. And I understand that 100%. Like I said, I knew Prince's personality. Like I heard other people's stories, talking about Prince walking in a room and he was floating, he was levitating and shit. Like, just people talking about him, and just, all the shit about him made him sound like a godlike figure. And when I say godlike, I don't mean like he's, an actual God and Jesus, all this stuff, because, people get hyped up when you say stuff like that. But when, people say that about, normal people, that he's godlike, they mean like, they're on a whole nother level. Like Prince, I think they say he could play like 30-something instruments or something like that. But like when I was looking at his Wikipedia pages, because I'm a Wikipedia nerd, and I was looking at, he was making his first albums, they were talking about he did a whole lot of like, he recorded like he was his own band or something like that. I think like, picking up, when he first started, then, he acquired other guys and whatnot. But he made a whole lot of his own music himself. So that's ultra talent, writing all of this stuff, writing for other people, man. Prince was just a real beast, and it's sad that our generation couldn't see that while he was here. But you know, that's cool that, you know, we'll, you know, it's still, you know, the art lives on and the life lives on. You know, Prince lives on through his music and through the things that people will learn from his music. So that's all good stuff, man. But like I said, I just learned, like, it's trippy to me because I just learned about him. Like I said, 2016, you might as well say, and he's gone in 2016. Way too young. He was like 57 or something like that, but way too young to be gone from here. So either way, man, shouts out to y'all, man. It just it's a lesson to not take life for granted. You never know when you can go, and no matter, you know, what people say about you, whether you're the best or you're the lamest, you're the worst, you're gonna die soon. You might outlive them all. You know, you know, we don't never know who's gonna die, but always don't, like I said, never take life for granted. Never live life like you can't die tomorrow. Never live life like the person that you love won't die tomorrow. You know, because never know. Prince didn't know he was gonna be gone yesterday, so, or the day before yesterday. Now, either way, you get what I'm saying. Either way, man. Shouts out to Prince. Shouts out to y'all. And I'm about to get out of here. Because if I don't now, then well, I couldn't tell you what. But check this out, man.